It was late October, and the air was crisp with the scent of fallen leaves. I had just finished my shift at the diner, my feet aching as I walked to the bus stop. A light drizzle began to fall, and I pulled my jacket tighter around me. The last bus home was always a bit sketchy, but it was my only option. As I waited, I glanced around. The street was empty, the only sound being the soft patter of rain against the asphalt. Then, I noticed a figure at the other end of the platform. A man, hunched over, obscured by the shadows. He was wearing a long coat, and I could see strands of dark hair hanging over his face. A chill ran down my spine. As the minutes dragged on, I kept stealing glances at him. He hadn't moved, and a lingering unease settled in my stomach. When the bus finally arrived, I was relieved but hesitant. I boarded, choosing a seat near the front. The man followed, sitting a few rows back, still shrouded in darkness. I tried to shake off the feeling of being watched, focusing instead on my phone. After a few stops, I noticed the bus had grown emptier, and the overhead lights flickered ominously. I glanced back at the man, and our eyes met for a brief moment. I quickly turned away, feeling a knot tighten in my chest. As we drove through the dimly lit streets, the bus hit a bump, causing the lights to flicker once again. That's when I heard it. A low, guttural sound coming from the back of the bus. It was almost like a growl, and my heart raced. I turned back, but the man was just sitting there, still as a statue, his face obscured. The bus driver, an older gentleman with graying hair, seemed agitated. He glanced nervously at the rearview mirror. "Is everything all right back there?" he called out, but there was no response. I could feel the tension in the air. Suddenly the bus lurched to a stop, the sudden jolt forcing me forward. "What the hell?" the driver muttered under his breath. He stood up and walked toward the back, and panic surged through me. I didn't want to be left alone with that man. I'll just wait here, I thought, heart pounding. But as the bus driver reached the back, I heard a loud thud, like something heavy hitting the floor. I leaned closer, straining to hear. "Sir, are you okay?" the driver asked, his voice trembling. Then silence. The driver didn't return. I could feel my breath quickening and dread settled in my bones. Just then the bus lights flickered again and went out completely, plunging us into darkness. The only sound was the rain pounding against the roof, drowning out everything else. In the pitch black, I fumbled for my phone, desperate for light. When I turned it on, the screen illuminated the bus for just a moment, revealing the terrified expressions of the few remaining passengers. But the man wasn't just sitting back there anymore. He was standing at the front, inching closer to me, his features hidden in shadow. I felt paralyzed, unable to move as he approached. Just then, the lights flickered back on, and the driver stumbled back into view, looking disheveled and pale. "What happened?" I asked, my voice shaky. The driver shook his head, and in that moment, I realized that the man was no longer in the aisle. "Everyone okay?" the driver asked, his voice strained. "We need to keep moving." But when I looked around, I saw that 2 passengers were missing, vanished without a trace. The bus felt suffocating, time stretching as we continued down the dark street. I could sense the driver's growing fear. Finally, we pulled up to my stop. I was torn between wanting to leave and a deep-seated dread to stay, but I knew I had to go. I collected my things and stepped off the bus, glancing back one last time. The man was gone, and the bus pulled away, leaving me in the cold rain. As I walked home, my heart raced, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I finally reached my apartment, locking the door behind me, but I couldn't forget what happened on that bus. Days turned into weeks, and I tried to forget that night. But every time I saw a bus pass by, I felt a chill. Then, one late night, I received a news alert. 2 unidentified bodies had been found near the bus stop. They had vanished just hours after I saw them. I didn't know what happened to the man or those passengers, but I knew one thing. Some shadows linger longer than others, and not all who step onto a bus make it to their destination.